So there was recently a New World community Q&A, and in this Q&A, they had some pretty interesting questions and answers. So we're going to go over those very briefly. Then I'm going to give you guys some of my thoughts on these. The most notable one to me was the question asked about wars. If you've ever watched my stream, you know that not wars specifically, but territory control to me is a pretty hot button issue. So we're going to go over that one in this video as well. So let's take a look at what some of the questions were and how they answered them. Before the Q&A actually started, though, they did say that they're going to be cutting back on the Forged in Eternum series, specifically the New World community Q&A. They do realize that due to the big announcement in June, they can't answer the questions that people really want to know. So there is going to be an Eye on Eternum episode on May the 13th. Those are the episodes with the community manager. They just kind of go over some of the upcoming content in the game, and then they're not sure when they're going to return after that. So the first question was, how come bugs and reported items from the PTR still make it to live? They said there's simply not enough time to get everything corrected, but they are working on a backlog of items, so new items get added to their list as time goes on, and then those items are prioritized to fix game-breaking things. This has been a problem for New World every single patch, so hopefully they can get this stuff cleaned up. And then later on in the Q&A, there was another question related to bugs, and it was pretty encouraging. We'll get to that here in just a minute. Then the next question was, why remove the full season storylines? Well, they said that they were designed to be one-off for each season. They didn't really want players to have to catch up each season with the story. There are no plans to change this in the future. The seasonal narratives are a huge investment, so moving forward, there will probably be less of them, but the investment moving forward will be on repeatable content. I'm all for having the investment on repeatable content, but it is kind of weird that they removed the seasonal stories. I have no idea why they did that. I, for one, thought the seasonal stories were pretty good. I really did look forward to them. It's about the only part of the story I look forward to, although I have been playing through the main story after the Season 5 revamp, and if you haven't done that yet, I highly recommend. It is absolutely excellent, and they did a great job on that. But it is unfortunate that they removed the season stories. Doesn't sound like there's any plans in bringing those back, or at least not any changes to them, but it is encouraging that they're going to be focusing on repeatable content. So then the next question was, what options are being added to make competitive in-game PvP feel better? They said matchmaking is coming to New World for PvP, so you'll be playing against people of your own skill. So this means whenever you go into OPR or Arena, there's, I guess, going to be some sort of MMR behind the scenes, and then you should be matched up with people relative to your skill level. They did say that there's nothing planned for wars to make it more competitive currently. They're pretty happy with the competition in the state, or the level of competition that wars provide at the moment. The next question was, is AGS taking action on the feedback given in the Discord PvE channel? I guess a lot of people feel like their feedback's not being heard, so this question was asked. They did say that staff monitors the feedback, but they have so many things they're working on that it may feel like they're ignoring the suggestions. They are not. They take all the feedback into consideration, which I can imagine weeding through all the feedback is probably a pretty hard thing to do. So many people have different ideas of what would make the game good and what would make PvE better. So I would think that weeding through this is pretty difficult, but they said that they do take it into consideration, which I don't know what other answer we would expect there, to be honest. Then the question was asked, how do you plan on regaining the trust of your community? I thought this was a pretty hard-hitting question. They just straight up asked, how do you plan on regaining everyone's trust? Because right now it's definitely broken with a lot of the community. Well, Scott Lane stated that the only way they can do this is by putting out quality releases. He said they have failed previously and they're working hard not to make the same mistakes moving forward. So hopefully we see that moving forward with some of the new seasons and some of the new content, especially with the content update coming in June. Let's hope that it's not broken. Let's hope that things are good. Let's hope we get a massive announcement here in the next few weeks with the June announcement. The next question was a pretty interesting one because I didn't even know this was in the game, to be perfectly honest. They said cooking ingredients now show where they're found in game via an in-game tooltip. Are quality of life changes like this planned for other items in the game? I logged in the game to check this because I guess I just missed this. I don't know if this was in the patch notes or not, but apparently I just completely missed this. I didn't know this was a thing. But whenever you hover over a food item, it does tell you exactly where to find it in the game. It is pretty nice. And they said this is a feature they really like, and so they're looking into this for other items, which I think would be a great addition, a great quality of life addition to New World. And then here was another pretty hard-hitting question. Can you give some insight on what quality assurance looks like prior to releasing an update? So within the New World community, there's a lot of discourse because every time an update is released, there's a lot of bugs. There's a lot of crazy things that happen with the update. They always preach that they want a delay because they want quality coming out. And then somehow some of these things just kind of sneak their way into live. So they did say they cannot get super detailed about the process, but overall, the QA approach is a risk-based approach. They said as the developers make changes, they need to communicate what those changes are to the QA team so they can test around those changes. Then they just kind of say they're working to get better towards implementing these in the future. So hopefully we'll see less bugs, less buggy patches implemented in the future. It does get a little bit frustrating as a player whenever this stuff happens, but I can understand they can't catch everything, but hopefully we do see a little bit better quality patches moving forward. The next question kind of related to the previous one. It said, are you ever planning on catching up with fixing all the bugs in the game? They said they are currently making huge efforts this year to raise the quality of the game overall. They're trying to catch up on the existing bugs and stay on top of them moving forward. They said previously 20% of their time has been spent on catching up on bugs, but this has gone up significantly. So the whole team is working on the issues, trying to resolve a lot of the bugs and squash a lot of this stuff so that the quality of the game is much better moving forward. The next question is a really good one as well. They said, when will the 625 content be updated to 700 gear score content, aka like the PvE trials, the sandworm, etc.? This is a great question because all that content just got left behind whenever Rise of the Angry Earth was released. I'm not sure why they did not update it, but they didn't. Like the sandworm, for example, is just a massive piece of content they worked on for a long time, and then it just didn't get updated whenever the gear score got updated. So there's really no reason to run that outside of trying to upgrade your artifact, which is a whole other story, kind of weird in my opinion. But anyway, they said that they are going to be updated in the upcoming year. And I think he clarified later on that that means this year. They said the rewards are not up to date and they're going to be updated. So for example, the Sandworm Trial is going to be updated to gear score 700. And they said that elite chest runs are also going to be updated from like the 625 named items that you get out of those to include more updated loot. So that's really good news. I have no idea when that's coming in. Maybe that'll be a part of the June announcement. Maybe that'll be a part of the big update towards the end of the year. No clue, but that stuff is getting updated, which will be good. I'm not sure why it has taken this long to update it, but it is what it is. And I'm looking forward to it being updated though, because it'd be nice to have a reason to go run that content as someone who's been playing the game for a really long time. They also were asked, when can we expect another round of fresh start? They said no details on when, but there will be another round of fresh start servers. I would assume that fresh starts will come in with the release of console. Now, console is still speculation by the community. No one knows for sure if they are releasing on console, but right now it does make a lot of sense they would. In this particular video, Dave also had a shirt on or a hoodie on, whatever you want to call it, a pullover that had a controller on the side, which kind of indicated he's working on console. It's kind of a hint that was dropped in there, I think. But it would really surprise me if this game didn't come to console. So I would assume that if it comes to console, fresh starts will happen with that launch. And who knows if it's going to be cross-platform. Nobody knows any of these answers yet. But hopefully we'll find all that stuff out in June. And then we're going to skip to the last question and then double back to the two that were asked before because they kind of tied together. But the last question I thought was very interesting, something that I haven't thought about either. They said, are you planning to add gathering tool artifacts to the games, like gathering tools or the armor that you get for gathering professions? They said they haven't thought about it, but they think that's a really fun idea, which I do too. I think that'd be really neat to have some artifacts for those things in the game. So hopefully we'll see that in the future too. And then the next two questions they were asked were revolving around territory control, which in my opinion is a really, really big issue for the game. It's something they've struggled with since the beginning of the game. And perfectly honest, in my opinion, if you watch my stream, you know how I feel about it. I think territory control is just not very good. I think it really hinders the growth of New World. I think that the end game needs a lot of work. And right now, territory control is all we have for an end game. That is the in-game loop in New World. Like it or not, that is the in-game loop. Is territory control, going to war, owning territory. That is it. That's what you do all this other stuff for, essentially, is to try to own territory in New World. Well, it's just not designed very well, in my opinion, and it's been a hot button issue for me since day one. It still continues to be. But here was some encouraging news on that part. They said, have the devs discussed limiting the amount of territory that can be owned? They said they've definitely discussed it, but no concrete changes, but they are currently discussing it. It's a difficult change and a complex change to make. So I would assume we'll see some sort of some sort of something coming in for limiting the amount of territory at some point in the future. That will be addressed, but to me, that's just another band-aid fix on yet a really bad system. The next question was a very telling one to me, and one that is really eye-opening because there's a lot of speculation around this, and a lot of people, I think, have this misconception that a lot more people get to participate in wars than they do. They just flat out told us the percentage of the population, and it is astonishingly low. It's right around where I thought it would be, actually, but it's really, really low. They said, are you happy with the state of wars? What does the data say on the number of players that get to experience that content? So they said they are happy with the war experience itself, but overall, they aren't happy with the amount of people that get into it. Around 2% of people get to participate in wars. There's not an immediate initiative, and it's going to take a while to get all of this right, but there is another PvP mode, OPR, that 20% of the players engage in, and they don't want to create queuing issues with other PvP modes, but they would love to do something like casual wars. So there's a lot to break down there in that answer. So first and foremost, 20% of people playing in OPR is a lot lower than I thought. I thought the vast majority of the population probably participated in OPR, but they said 20% according to their data, which is pretty crazy. They said around 2% participate in wars though, which is the mind-blowing number, because we all thought this. Everybody thought it was like 5% or less, or at least I know a lot of people did. And then there was a segment of the community that thought it was a whole lot more than that a whole lot of people got to participate in wars. Well, they came out and told us 2%. 2% of people get to participate in the in-game content of New World. That is a huge problem, in my opinion. I don't have a problem with wars themselves. They're fun. I am actually an advocate to have more PvP in New World. I love it. It is probably the most, it's my most enjoyed thing that I do in the game. I really do like the PvP in New World. However, the territory control system and the way it's designed is inherently flawed. It's really bad. When you have 2% of your people getting to participate in in-game content, I would hope that there is a rush to get something out to fix this in-game content, because that's just not good. Again, territory control, like it or not, that is the end game of New World. You go run mutations all the way up to mutation 3. There is no trial or raid in the game anymore, because the sandworm, like we mentioned before, only drops 625 gear score gear. So there's not really a reason to go do that. There's really no game loop that revolves around the sandworm. There's no game loop that revolves around running M3s. You run them to an extent, maybe to get on the leaderboard. You run them a few times to get gear, but what are you getting geared up for ultimately? Well, ultimately, you go do all this stuff to get geared up to go on your conquest to control territory in the game. That is the end game of New World. That is supposed to be the end game loop. You do all of these things, you get geared up for war, you go, you war, you own territory, you rinse and repeat, which is on paper a really fun concept. However, whenever you player gate and time gate people out of that content, it doesn't work. There's a lot more opportunity around territory control, in my opinion, to make it a lot better, to provide more opportunity for PvP, and to open that up to the entire player base versus 2%. 2% is wild to me. They just haven't focused on the end game at all. So I really, really hope there's something coming in June regarding that. It didn't sound like there was, because they said there's not an immediate initiative around this, but maybe immediate initiative means that it's not happening now, but maybe it'll happen later on in the year. I have no idea. To me, it didn't sound like that anything is coming anytime soon for the territory control system, which is quite a bummer, because I think it's a missed opportunity, and I think it is one of the things, if not the biggest thing, that is causing the population to just consistently decline in the game. The game does come to console, we should see a big boom in players, but if they don't fix their in-game issues, I think that player number will just continue to drop. I love New World. I really hope they get their act together and get some in-game content in there. In my opinion, they really just need to scrap that entire territory control system and work it from the ground up. Scott said something about casual wars. Casual wars aren't going to fix anything. They might be fun. They probably would be fun. I would do them, but it's not really going to fix the problem that they're having with the end game. That doesn't really provide any in-game loop. Just having another queued up version of wars, it just doesn't do anything for the game. So I hope they go a different route. I hope they fix in-game. I hope they fix territory control. That's enough for that rant, though. I really love New World. There's a lot of fun things coming to the game. I hope June is going to be an exciting time. We'll see where that leads us. But that'll do it for this one, boys and girls. I appreciate you guys watching. That was the community Q&A for April. If you guys enjoyed this video, enjoy New World content, please make sure to like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. And of course, we stream every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The stream schedule has changed. If you watch my stream regularly, I am changing up the schedule a little bit. We're going to be doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, about 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m. CST, and then on into the afternoon there over on twitch.tv/BDLG. Hope to see you guys come join me. We have a lot of fun over there. That'll do it for this one, boys and girls. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.